Hello, scrappy friends. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be participating in the Traci Reed Designs YouTube hop today. She is releasing her new line of Aflutter, which is gorgeous. I've got a few pieces printed out here. This is a great compilation of all the designs and colors that are in the kit. But check out her web page so you can see all the amazing pieces. Now today I'm going to be working on a traveler's notebook spread. When I saw these two pieces, I knew that they would work really well together. I am also doing a traveler's notebook of all the things that I love about spring. I decided this year that I was going to do a gratitude journal about all the things that I love about spring, that are happening this spring. I find that I tend to not get around. I have too much going on in November, which is more the traditional time to do a gratitude journal. And when I was looking through my camera roll this season, I realized as a family, we don't have a whole lot of activities going on. So I thought it would be perfect time to use all the spring products and to finally get a gratitude journal actually documented. So I want to use these two Traveler's Notebook pages. I printed them out. I also printed out some flowers that I'm going to use for embellishing. And I think what I want to do here is I found a piece of vellum in my stash, and I am going to sew a pocket here. Then what I'm going to do is the pictures of flowers that I take on my walk or anything that reminds me of spring that brings me joy this time of year, I am going to put it as a tag into the pocket. So that's kind of the general plan for my page. And I am going to put you on fast forward and show you how I get this page made.
Okay, so the first thing I need to do is measure and decide the size of my vellum pocket. I'm measuring this piece of scrap vellum that I have in relation to the page size and the white tag size. I reprinted this page and put my journaling on it. And what I decided to do is make the pocket approximately 4 inches tall, about halfway up the page. And then I believe the white tag was 3.5 inches. So I made the vellum just slightly larger so it would have a little bit of overhang onto the blue portion. I then used the white edge of the tag as my guideline for stitching, and I stitched on 3 sides of the vellum to make a pocket. And then you just saw me there pulling my threads to the back side of the page so they wouldn't be sticking out on the front. So I did the sewing off camera. I don't have a good way to film my sewing. But if you don't have a sewing machine and you still want to do this style, you could use double-sided tape. You could use staples. You could even use a rolling tape adhesive, although you might see some of that through, but it would still work to give the same look. So I have printed off some of the floral embellishments and stickers from this kit on some 8.5 by 11 piece of photo paper. It's a matte photo paper, same brand as my printer. I wanted to maximize the use of the paper that I was printing on, and so I printed some paper sheets and some miscellaneous sticker items. When it comes to the digital kits, I will often print just an entire sheet of some of the stickers or embellishment pieces, and a digital file with sheets of that will come in the kit or as part of the options to purchase within the kit. Because I also like to maximize my photo paper that I'm printing on, I will put some miscellaneous items off to the side when I have room, which is what I was doing there. And those I just fussy cut. So I did some of that off camera. And now what I'm doing here is, what I want to do is put, it wouldn't be a subtitle, but part of a title, Why I Love, and then the big spring, which is pre-printed on the paper. I was thinking, my initial idea was to use these little tile alphas. They're small, plus I love the blue color, and I think the blue is going to look really well with the blue from the left side of the page, as well as the light and dark blue in the word spring. I had pulled over another blue alpha from my stash, and I was comparing those two, but I stick with the tiles because it gives me the look that I'm going for. So I had put it on some wax paper just in case I wanted to move it around or if I wanted to change the alphas, and that's a good tip that really works well for me. Now here with this banner on the left side, I wanted to stamp something in there. I pulled out a stamp from my stash. It says happy in a cursive script font, and I thought it looked very similar to the font of the Has Sprung on the right side. So I am just doing a very, very bad fussy cutting right there, just to lay it where I want it to go and see if it gives me the look that I'm going for. And it does. It's exactly what I want. So now I'm going to get to the actual stamping. I love stamping, but I do not consider myself a great stamper, and so I will always practice my stamping first. As you saw, I fussy cut out a very loose sample to make sure it looked right, and I will always practice before I stamp, before I do it on my actual project. So now I've decided I'm going to actually adhere down the Why I Love alpha stickers. I'm using my T-ruler and some tweezers to get those lined up correctly. I end up abandoning the tweezers. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them. Sometimes they work well for me, and sometimes just using my fingers works just as good. Oh, and right there, I had a little bit of black ink on my finger, even though I had tried to wipe it all off beforehand. So I got a little bit of smudge up at the top. You really can't notice it. I can see it, and so it bugs me, but it's fine. So now I take one of these fussy cut flowers, and I add it to the top. I really like how that fits in with the top of the full title now. And now I'm going to play around with some of the fussy cut pieces for some added decoration below the title. I love these mushrooms. And what I was doing right there, actually, the pre-printed sheets are so intricately designed that you don't even have to put all these additional embellishments on. I think if you just printed the TN size paper, put your journaling and a photo in the tag portion, it would be a gorgeous spread on its own. Now, of course, that wouldn't be fun for this YouTube video, so I am using a bunch of the embellishments that I have fussy cut. So down below, I was mentioning I love the mushrooms that come in this kit. I put the green one over on the right, and then now I'm playing with some more embellishments, and I end up using the pink and kind of orangey coral colored one on this left side. I also really love the sprigs of flowers. I think those are a great way to add some different height and thickness to the appearance of the flower clusters. So now I'm finally going back. It's time to pick a ribbon. And initially I thought I was going to go with the green to pull a little bit more green into the project, but it was just too bright. And I think it was too distracting. So I'm going with this white and yellow gingham pattern. I don't think you can go wrong with a checkered pattern in general. So right there, I'm just putting a little bit of adhesive so it stays in place while I staple it. The ribbon has a white underside, and I wanted to be able to see the gingham. So on the back of the page, I twist it so I can get both sides of the print showing. Now I'm going to go back and finally adhere the cluster of flowers to my vellum. The pre-printed the pre-printed flower and butterfly got a little covered when I sewed on my vellum pocket. You can still see it on the left, but it is muted. So I wanted more flowers on top of the pocket to just make it more vivid and more striking. So once I finish off adding the adhesive to these flowers, I'm going to get working on the tags.
Okay, I am back. I have printed off a couple of pictures of flowers that I have taken on local walks or local adventures. So the daffodils popping up in spring are just a sight of a new spring. Whenever they pop up, I know that spring is coming, so I love seeing those. And then in our area, I'm in the Pacific Northwest in the Skagit Valley, where which is north of where I live, but we have a tulip festival. And this is a picture from last year, but the tulips are gorgeous. And it also is a spring festival that we have every year. So I took a picture from last year. I'm gonna cut these down, and then what I'm going to do is, once I cut these down into tag shapes, they will be just fine. I can punch a hole and put them in my pocket and it'll be great. But one additional thing that just is fun to do is I printed out a bunch of the pattern papers, or the TN size papers, in approximately 3x5 shape. I cropped them down. These are papers that I love the color of. I love how they look. And at this moment, I don't have an exact plan for how I want to use these. I've mapped out a couple projects, but I just love these and I didn't have a plan. So what I'm going to do is, once I crop these down into tags, I am going to back them with the paper. Now, you won't necessarily see the paper when they're in here, but if you pull them out, they'll just have a pretty backing. And I thought that was just a fun way to use more of the patterns in the kit. So I'm gonna do that, and I will be right back with the final project. So now, I had said that I was going to cut my pictures to this tag size, and this was the basis, or is the basis, of what I'm doing. Now, I couldn't crop this to be exactly, because I didn't want to crop out all of the yellow, or any of the yellow. Could have cropped down here, but then it makes it short and I don't really necessarily need that. So this one is approximately 2 3/4 wide, rather than the tag being 2 1/4, and this is 2 3/4, sorry. Okay, so, but I can just put it in there and I know it will fit, so that's good. Now I decide which one I want to back this with, and it doesn't really matter, it can be any one. I think I'll choose this butterfly. So these do not have to be exact. I could cut these on my trimmer, but I'm not going to use the whole piece of it. So what I'm going to do, make sure if there is a directional piece that you don't have your pattern going upside down. So now I'm just going to trim these to match. This will make the picture obviously a little thicker, which is going to possibly change how well it fits into the pocket. So we will check on that before we continue in case we have to make any adjustments. So with the thickness, I'm not going to be able to put like a ton of pictures in the pocket, but a couple will be just fine. I'm still going to use this tag as a template to get my corners the right shape. And I tend to flip the tag over because I find even with pre-made tags or pre-printed that the angles are not always the same. And that is something that really bugs me. So I'm just gonna get my hole punch. And then one thing that I'm just realizing now is I have to decide if I want a reinforcer. I don't know that I really am going to need one. This is pretty thick and the photo paper is thick, but do I want one just for aesthetics? What happened to my scrap piece of paper? Not really sure. Okay, anyway, what I could do, you know, the yellow would be a nice reinforcer and I could do that. Let's try that.
So off camera, I punched a reinforcer hole. I have a die that does that and my machine is off camera. So I did pick the yellow piece of paper. Because this is only for decorative purposes, I did not do a second reinforcer on the back. If you really wanted to make sure that this was going to hold up and not get damaged from people pulling on the string or pulling on the top of the tag, you'd want to do a reinforcer on both sides. I pulled out my twine. I'm going with a yellow twine, yellow and white, to kind of match the daffodils. I think the yellow works really well with the other components on the spread too. So my next picture is of the tulips. I did reprint it. Something kind of went awry with that one I had shown in the video earlier. So I'm going with this wood grain rainbow paper for the back of this tag. This is such a gorgeous piece of paper and I can't wait to use it in a bigger portion. But for now, I get to use it here. Just like I had done with the last tag, I'm just cutting off the edges and I'm going to use the regular tag as a template to cut my edges and my hole. And I will do a reinforcer on the front as well and add some twine to the tag. Once I complete that, this spread will be done. I am so honored and excited to be a guest designer for Traci Reed Designs this month. I'm so glad I was able to participate in this YouTube hop. Please check in the description below to see all the other designers participating in this hop. Check them out and also check out the Traci Reed Design shop so you can get the collection of Aflutter too. There are so many more great papers and elements that I wasn't able to show you in this video. So have a great crafty day and I'm so glad that you could stop by. Here is a more detailed look at some of the elements and thanks again for watching.